Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. Remember to subscribe to our free podcast so you won't miss any of our inspiring content. Here is episode 139.
Because I feel like our life is a message in itself. And if you stop and you go back and look at where you've been and what experiences you've been through, you can generally find your strengths and what brings you the joy along the journey.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's Firestarter is Carmie Golightly. Carmie Golightly is the President of Transcendence Mentoring, which helps you organize your mind, time, space, and routine to create the optimal balanced life. Carmie and her soulmate of 13 years resides in Utah with their 5 children. Having worked early on with children with disabilities as a special education and elementary teacher, she was fascinated with the mind and how the brain works. She continues to pursue studies in understanding how all people connect and communicate. Through her studies, she has become an organization, mentor, and body language expert. Her passion is to help people succeed at their highest level. Her motto is, "In all thy learning, first seek to understand." She uses this motto to help others seek better understanding of their life and to educate them on how to transcend beyond what they ever expected. She uses understanding to mentor others in areas such as organizing, relationships, communication, and health balance. Over the past 2 years, she has mentored and presented ways to organize spaces, heal emotionally, communicate effectively, and to be in control of their lives through understanding simple tools and tapping into the power of the mind, body, and soul. Welcome, Carmie.
Well, thank you.
I'm so excited to finally have connected with you and to talk about this subject. It's going to probably be kind of broad, but it's going to be just perfect for what we've discussed already on our show. But before we learn more about your mission, please tell us more about yourself.
Well, I am actually expecting my 6th child, so we're excited about that. And we found out it's a girl. So
wow.
We're woohoo.
What's the breakdown so far?
So we have boy, girl, boy, and this will be a girl. So we're following a pattern here. So it's
That's
really
funny.
fun. And we're moving into a new home at the end of the month. But we're really excited. It's a home that we've really, it's been on our vision board, a dream home that we've been working for. So it's a goal that we're finally getting, and we're just really thrilled about it with our family. We're working with people, and we feel like we have been blessed, I feel, to be inspired by some great people. And so in return, we want to just hopefully inspire others to do the best they can in their life and just go beyond what they even thought, because that's how we feel, is we were inspired and we're seeing benefits and things beyond what we thought ever we could have. And so it's good to dream big. And I love that. I want people to dream big and not let those dreams get squelched or get discouraged. So I've been a music teacher for 8 years, and then I started my Transcendence Mentoring about 3 years ago. So I've been working 2 businesses simultaneously, and it's been crazy, but it's been a good experience of learning to balance, and along with my 5 children and husband. So things are possible, because people say, well, how can you do that? And it's like, well, you just really have to say no to things and say yes to the most important. So I've been working quite a bit with things, but my passion is really working with people and helping them and inspiring them. The music also, I feel music's powerful, and I try to incorporate music in my mentoring as well, because I know the benefits of it. And the brain, your brain, I love the brain and how it functions. And I continually study as much as I can, because our subconscious and our mind, there's so many things going on that the more we can understand, we seek first to understand, then we become enlightened, and then we can know which direction to go, and then we can also work with who we are when we start to create understanding. I just think understanding, that my favorite quote is, when you're working with people, when you're working with yourself and working with your stuff, if you can truly understand what's going on, then you can find the solutions. And that's why that, to me, it's a powerful thing. And most people jump to judgment or jump to just solutions or just an idea instead of really having a clear understanding of what's going on. So that's kind of me in a nutshell right now. So
that's awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more about what that journey looked like when you started out being a special ed teacher to an elementary teacher, how that's moved into mentoring others with the brain and all of that kind of thing.
Well, in special education, I did a dual major, elementary and special ed. We study a lot about disabilities and how children learn differently if they're a little more autistic or if they have attention deficit or hyperactivity. And we learn a lot about disabilities. We study those quite a bit. And we have to learn strategies to work with these children because really it's just their minds learn differently. You know, they have a different thing going on inside. And so as a teacher, we had to focus in on what was the best way to learn for this certain student. And so because of that, I started analyzing, my own children. None of them are classified with any type of disability, but they still learn in different ways. And so I've tried to apply things to them to help them learn. And slowly, as again, I was given the opportunity to teach music. And again, how do these children learn music and stuff? So that kind of evolved. And then I grew up organizing, I guess. That's just kind of always been given to me. I was never very organized as a kid. I was actually pretty messy. I had lots of stuff piled up, papers. I think I kept papers a lot. But I had really good friends who taught me some things. And my family, we had situations where my mother had many surgeries. She had back surgeries and just a lot of health problems. And so we were, again, this opportunity for women in my neighborhood to come in and to help me clean or help me just get us in order, because when your mom is sick and she's down, your house can fall apart or there's just a lot going on. So again, just women coming into my life, showing me things and teaching me along the way, where I became an organized person, where as children, we just progress and grow. And I think there's phases that we are more messy than others and we learn things. And sometimes some people in their life don't get that opportunity to learn. But I felt like I've got that. And so it's fun to be able to take that now, having worked with those women. And then later, I worked with several widows that lived in my neighborhood. I would go in and help clean their homes and help them organize. And what I found was that you can't organize somebody else's stuff the way you like it. You have to find what works for them and organize it in a way according to their function and what is best for them. And so I learned to be very sensitive to people, helping them organize it and clean it in a way that was best for their habits. And not one system works for everyone. So with these widows, some of them had more knickknacks or they had a certain way they wanted things. And so it gave me a lot of experience working with them, as well as my own family, helping them to organize and do things. And you don't just haul stuff out, because there's emotional things and mental things going on in people's minds. So in their space, everyone's space is an extension of them. Their homes, their cars, everything, their clothes, whatever they own is an extension of you. And so if someone came in and just said, hey, I'm just going to take this, you may have some kind of sentimental attachment or subconscious attachment that causes you pain for it to be gone. And so studying the mind and the brain, understanding that, I could see now why those women couldn't let certain things go, even though they were just simple little things or just clutter that could be taken care of. So that was kind of the beginning. And as a teacher in my classroom, when I started teaching, there was just full of stuff, like the cupboards were full of things. And just because I know that stuff weighs you down, I cleared it out, I organized it, got it ready, and it made the room more open, more clear. The students could think better. I could think better. It just seems along the way you get led. And so teaching school was awesome. I loved doing that. I worked with 3 teacher aides and I had to organize each of their groups because we'd rotate through about 130 kids. So we had to organize how they would be in the room and what groups they would meet and what curriculum they would need, and according to their needs as well. So just a lot of experience balancing and juggling. And I think I call myself an optimizer. My husband says, you just always try to find the best way to do things, the most efficient, quality ways. Because he's like, if you can figure out even the route to school to drop the kids off, how can we optimize this, make it better so that we're less stressed, the kids can get there on time, and I can make my appointments and all these things. So optimization is just kind of, you get led along with those things. So let's see, other experiences just working. When I went to college, my family was extremely poor. And so I worked 3 or 4 jobs at a time to put myself through college. And I learned and applied for all the grants that I possibly could get. And I applied for scholarships and, worked really hard. So I did cleaning for a while. I got up at 3 a.m. and would go clean for these commercial companies and go in the offices and clean the offices. When you're going to school and you're working 3 jobs, you really have to say no to some things and then only yes to those that are important. And so I think a lot of times people don't realize that we want to be positive and we want to be good-natured and we want to be welcoming, but we tend to say yes to everything and we're almost dishonest because we're like, oh yeah, I can do all that. And then we can't. And then we avoid the person or the situation or we don't respond. But in reality, we should step back and say, I can really do this much and this is what I'm doing right now. I love you. I just can't do all that. And maybe there's a solution for someone else or something. So that's kind of another message for me, is to let women know, and men, that not to be the yes person, but to find opportunities that best fit what your sole purpose is and say yes to those, and then it's okay to say no. So you can say no.
What I'm getting out of what you're saying is the underlying theme here is kind of taking people for their uniqueness on how you're working with them. I'm starting with the children that you were teaching, moving with the people that you mentor, and then also the ability to look at everyone's situation and really decide what their unique kind of mission or their purpose is and really going with that. Is that kind of what you're...
Yeah, exactly. I know I'm kind of rambling, but
no.
I'm intertwining my past experiences with my message, I guess. But
no,
yeah, it's very true, because I've mentored people with organizing where they wanted to hold on to every hobby, everything, and you say, okay, who are you inside and what really brings you the greatest joy? Because you have, you're interested in all these things, but you're only finishing some of the projects, and you buy all the supplies for something and then they just sit there. Or so it's sometimes we're searching for who we are and we create clutter around us too.
Definitely. So, yeah.
Anyways, that's definitely true.
and let's talk about the inspiration behind your message. We talked about your tagline as organize your mind, time, space, and routine to create the optimal, balanced life. Let's talk about what that inspiration looks like and where that came from.
Well, for me, I really believe in divine inspiration and getting revelation for yourself, that people can talk to their higher power, whatever it may be, and get that, like, what is the next step for me here? Whether you have a belief in God or you believe in something else, or is your own intuition you feel, but asking yourself good questions like, what really makes me happy? What experiences have I had? Because I feel like our life is a message in itself. And if you stop and you go back and look at where you've been and what experiences you've been through, you can generally find your strengths and what brings you the joy along the journey. And then you can find out what things don't bring you joy. Then you can say, okay, yeah, definitely that was interesting, but it wasn't really for me, or it drains me. So I think the inspiration for that is, I feel like through my life, I've had to learn to balance. I've had to learn to clear out my mind, clear out my space to create optimal balance. It's not about just doing stuff. It's about doing the right thing. And you got to start with your mind first. You have to clear out all those negative voices even voices that influence you that are harming you. Because we get voices from maybe our second grade teacher who's like, you'll never be able to do anything, or there's some little negative thing that gets stuck in our subconscious. So when we can use special tools, really simple tools, to go and identify the negative influence from our life, then it starts to clear out and we really start to hear our inner voice and hear that divine inspiration, whatever it is, and from our higher power, and say, okay, I want to help people here. And then you just start talking to people and you find that people need that, what you have to give.
Yeah. Well, and I love what we had talked about before, and then you've also mentioned it several times as you've been telling us about your mission, is that, sometimes our temporal organization affects, the spiritual, it affects our mental, stuff that's going on there, and trying to really balance that. I mean, sometimes it's a reflection, right, of things that your temporal things of what's going on outside physically of your disorganization is kind of a indication of what's going on the inside, and trying to really find that. Would you consider that maybe one of your challenges that you've had along the way, trying to help people identify that? I mean, tell us the challenges you've had and what you've learned from those things.
I think a lot of time people don't realize how much their space is a reflection of them inside, or that they do have clutter. I get people to say, oh, you know what? I don't really need much help. It'll take like an hour. Just come over and help me. And I get there, and then when I actually walk in the door, they get this realization that there is so much clutter. And before, they couldn't even see it. And so we have to become aware. And I think it starts with clearing out our mind inside, because a lot of times we don't see the clutter until we start clearing out those things that I've talked about, your negative thoughts and emotions, and start clarifying who you are inside. And it's both ways. So we start with organizing the space at the same time, because when you clear out physically, it helps you clear out emotionally and mentally. So it goes both ways. And that is so true, 100%.
Yeah.
I found I was holding on to a whole bunch of baby clothes. Then I finally just like, you know what, I'm going to get rid of these. And when I did, I had so much more freedom, because everything you own weighs on you. Every paper, everything in your home, everything, it actually subconsciously, your mind, it holds it, and it's a weight. And so it's very real. It's a very emotional and a very mental toll on your body when you have too much stuff. And actually, your brain can work against you, because when you try to get rid of those things, because it has an attachment to it, it signals in your brain through your ACC that there's pain. And so people will, when they're actually giving things away, feel emotional pain or physical pain, almost like a paper cut or an uneasy feeling. But when clients start to recognize and are accepting that their subconscious is holding them back, then you're able to let it go. I was talking to a client who was saying, well, I have all these things because I know I'm good at getting them. And I have 3 different types of mixers, and I have all of these things because they're symbolic to me of success. But yet she felt like she had to hold everything. And so we talked about, what is the fear of letting them go? Is it because you're not going to be successful, or you're not going to appear to be successful, or that success will go away if you don't keep it? Where in reality, you can have abundance come to you. And then if you have 5 mixers and you only need 1, and you're able to let it flow through you, you actually create more abundance and more success and more freedom, because your mind isn't hold on to that old belief that my value is attached to the item, or, I have to appear great because I have 5 mixers. Or so does that make sense? Like, that's just message for her. And her house wasn't really cluttered. It was just in her cupboards, everything was full. And you could walk in her home, it was beautiful. It's just everything was packed full, because she's like, oh, I'm abundant and I'm a full person. But it was okay for her to have space now. And so just talking through things and finding like that little message inside of like, why am I holding on to these 20-year-old papers? what's the attachment, and talking through them. So the biggest thing is for people to acknowledge it's also mental.
Wow.
They think that I should just come in and we can just clear it and organize it. And if I come in, it will just magically go away. And they're afraid to do the emotional mental. I really want people to know that you've got to work on that alongside the physical release as you're physically getting rid of stuff or organizing it, because we want to go back to our old thought patterns.
Yeah.
That subconscious keeps replaying. So,
well, and I kind of wonder, I mean, if you just came in and threw people's things away for them and they hadn't done that mental clearing, wouldn't that cause them greater anguish, like further on down the road, you know, that they haven't been able to deal with that of why they're holding on to something and you just got rid of it? I think that might create some other problems. Have you seen that in your work?
Oh, yes, for sure. And especially as a teenager, my mom would keep lots of things. And in her room, she had boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. Every room in her home had boxes of things. And so when the neighbors came over, they're like, oh, Carmie, we can just haul this stuff out. So we did. We removed dresser full of things and boxes of things and, things that just were not even going to get used or even remembered they were there. But when those things were gone, she was so angry and so upset. I mean, part of her had been ripped away and there was a lot of healing that had to be done. And so people come to me and they say, can you just help my mom? Can you go clean up her house? And I'm like, well, she has to be willing. She has to be willing to do that. And because I've seen it firsthand.
Yeah, that willingness needs to be there.
Yeah, and even clients who are willing, and if I try to throw something away, then they're not quite ready, it's almost like they get so upset and angry. So even boxes of things, or paper, just, reams of paper and stuff. So it's a very sensitive thing. And again, you have to realize everything that you own or people own is an attachment of them. Even though we don't think that way, but our subconscious does. The more you touch something, the more attached and more emotional memory you have of it. And so that is why we are attached to things, because if you shuffle paper around for a couple of years, you're really attached to it, even though it's just paper. Yeah, so it's a very real thing, for sure.
That's pretty powerful, the message that you're saying there. Before we go on, let's listen to this message.
Hello, Firestarters. It's Mark here. I know there comes a time each week when you listen to all the Luminous Mind podcasts that are available, and in a sad voice you ask yourself, what am I to do now? Well, despair no more. Just go to theluminousmind.net and start your free 30-day trial from Audible and download 2 free audiobooks. Now you can fill that downtime while you wait for the next Luminous Mind podcast with a great book from the world's largest selection of professionally narrated audiobooks. You can choose from over 180,000 titles, including new releases and bestsellers, and you can exchange any book you don't love anytime, no questions asked, with a great listen guarantee. So until the next episode, start reading and keep the fire burning.
As she teaches us to organize your mind, time, space, and routine. So do you think you could just kind of quickly bullet point what you feel like your paradigm change has been with this time and experience?
So for me, it's been recognizing that, I went from a place of poverty and self-doubt. I didn't really think I could amount to much as a kid and teenager, and being to a person where finally I worked my butt off, put myself through school. It's like, and I had to take some tests over again. But it's just that if you get inspiration and you tap into that and you're supposed to do something, you work at it and you go for it. And now it's like if a wall comes up or a difficulty that I know I just have to figure out, it's like, okay, is this what I really want? And if it is, then I'm just going to go for it and work through that. It doesn't mean it's a no. If there's a wall or an obstacle or pain, pain sometimes stops us. So it's like, okay, what's the pain? If you get anxiety about something, okay, why am I having anxiety? And you use some of the tools to work through it. So now I'm recognizing that I can't stop myself if I come across the wall or some of the subconscious emotional things. And the same with my clients, that there's some pain there whenever we grow. And it's okay to work through it. It's okay to have pain. We need to experience it.
Well, and I love how you talked about earlier that abundance would flow through you, because I think sometimes we do hang on to things. It's like having that clenched fist of hanging on to something, but once we open it, like the money can come and go through an open hand, right? Like if we just cling to whatever we have, our fist is closed to anything else that might come along.
Very true. Yeah.
Well, you've talked about like going into people's homes and stuff, but tell us a little bit about the services you offer and maybe some testimonials or some successes that you've seen.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So I offer what's called my emotional quotient, and we go over my 5 emotional quotient tools of communication, relationship building, thought patterns, your body language. I'm a certified body language expert. I worked with Kirk Duncan for a period of about 3 or 4 years, and he certified me as a body language expert. So I really tap into movements and, how can you improve on yourself through movement, but also communication. A lot of times we are thinking that people can understand us when they can't. But the biggest thing I love to share with people is these 5 emotional quotient tools, because they're very simple but very powerful. And I really already talked about working through the emotional side of things. Whenever fear, anxiety, or frustration, you're trying to do something in anything, whether it's organizing or whatever, going to school or something, there's emotional things inside of us. And so those 5 EQ tools help you work with your subconscious. They break through old habits, old thought patterns, getting rid of those, understanding how to create new messages inside of yourself. Your brain is a message creator. It loves routine and things, so it creates these little messages and they'll play them over and over. So I cover this emotional quotient really strongly with people to break through. And then, of course, I go into my organized mentoring, which incorporates these 5 EQ tools. And we go through my 7 steps to order, my optimized systems, paper mastery, and time management, because they're all kind of connected together. But understanding your subconscious and your habits of why you clutter or why your family has the things the way it is, you can really step back and get in order. And optimized systems is to tailor it to your habits, because we have certain habits and a lot of them are actually good habits. So we want to use those for our benefit. And so I don't believe in just telling people just buy these organizers or just do it a certain way, because I found that some people need to organize a little bit different than other people. If you're a type 1 or type 2, we got to organize it a little bit different than we would a type 4. So I really go into optimizing it that fits you. Then, of course, I talk about health balance, and how these 5 emotional quotient tools will help you eat better, as well as finding balance. Now, exercise, people want to lose weight, of course, but I really believe that we should focus on balance. We want strong muscles. We want to be healthy. We don't necessarily want to be a certain weight or just certain size, because we are built differently. We have different components in our body. And so it's more about health, overall health, in that using the 5 EQ tools and finding a system that works best for you. Whether, for me, I believe more in holistic foods or whole foods and stuff. But there's some people that need little baby steps to kind of get them to that health. And so again, I'm an optimizer looking at your routine and what's going to help you the best with eating healthy. And so I do one-on-one mentoring, of course. I do online group mentoring, and people can subscribe to my 7 organizing quick tips on my website. I also have some tools. My tools are in some videos. So if you're a self-learner, you want to watch the videos and apply those, just make sure you apply them. You can go watch those videos and get my ebook that goes with it. And if you do watch those and you have more questions, love to answer those. So there's some of the things I offer, and I feel like those things have been a huge key in my life, breaking through barriers, breaking through depression, breaking through anxiety. At one point I had my fourth child and I was like, there's no way I can have any more children because I have so much anxiety, so much depression. I was on 3 medications and I figured out I had some amazing mentors, Kirk Duncan, Ann Washburn. Those people were huge. Don Aslett and his wife, Barbara. They were heaven-sent lifesavers that were there and helped me break through, teach me some powerful tools that I want to give back to other people as well. So there's just a few of those that have influenced me, and where my background is with the actual mentoring tools is from them as well. So.
Well, and what successes have you seen too? I would imagine once you're working on one area, you've talked about we're organizing, physical stuff, but it just sounds like it works into every facet of your life. Is that what you're seeing with your?
So I've worked with Tammy Ward. She early on she's amazing. I love Tammy Ward, but she had me come organize. And as we're organizing, of course, we talked about the relationship building, how to create boundaries. And it was like a light bulb in her head, like, oh, that's what I need. I need stronger boundaries with my family and my relationships so that they know what is safe in our home so that we can have order. And we met for just 10 hours and boom, I mean, she took off. Her kids were organizing things and it's amazing how quick like that transformed. I mean, they painted their house and they did all these amazing things in their home and they had a beautiful home, but just added to it. So it triggers so many things. So organizing. So if you look at yourself and you say, I need the help with the organizing, we start there. And then you see it go into your health. You see it go into your relationships, just like Tammy did. And then other women that I've worked with, the same thing. As soon as I start giving them the tools, and if their children can be there when we're learning some of these things, their children catch on. She's like, she called me and said, hey, I just did my whole closet. I just went out and just got rid of all this stuff. And I was like, whoa, so it's a huge, when you just start and you invest in yourself, you're investing in more than just your organizing, or maybe it's the emotional quotient tools you need. Maybe you're working through some depression or some difficult times. Those tools can help you find your inner voice, and then you feel more at peace, and then other things come in order like your health and stuff. So yes, for sure. And for myself as well, it's been transforming. I was able to lose all the weight from my first 4 children. I got off all my medications. I have a history of depression, and because of the tools, I don't go there. I'm able to see it for what it is and understand it and stop myself from going to that negative place again. So huge. And then I was able to have another child, my boy. And then we've been blessed to have this 6th child where I felt, again, I was tapping into my inspiration that there was 2 children I was missing, but I felt I physically couldn't handle it. And mentally I couldn't handle it. And suddenly, because of those amazing mentors and tools, here I am. I'm like, hey, I can do this now. I can have my full family because that's my inspiration said, hey, you're missing 2. And so here they are. And wow, can I just tell you how grateful I am to have that? So hope that wasn't too much, but
no. Well, and I love what you say too. Like if the mother or, whoever you're working with, the father or the mother, they start clearing up their life, it definitely has a snowball effect into the lives of everyone that they touch. Mm-hmm. So that's great. So tell us what habits you feel like in your personal life have been the most helpful.
So the habits for me is, I think one of the most beautiful things is being able to look in the mirror at myself and say, I love you. You're beautiful. You're strong. You can do it. And every day reminding myself, you're beautiful. You're strong. You can do it. I think our self-talk, I've learned that the habit of self-talk, as soon as I start thinking negative thoughts, I have to stop and go back. Okay, what was the negative of that? And try to pull out the opposite. Constantly doing that because we're always bombarded with negative thoughts. So that is a huge thing for me. The other thing is spiritual guidance. Again, your inspiration, whatever you choose your inspiration, whatever is the best fit for you to stay close to it, whether it's through meditation or prayer, through study to always put that first and really get to know your inspiration, to hear your voice. Those things have been habits that have helped me the most. And then when I look at my relationships, because as a type 4 person, I'm a person who's very much like meticulous, like things done, lists, things like that. I would focus with my children on, did you get this done? Did you get your homework done? Did you brush your teeth? Did you get your jammies on? Did you load the dishwasher? Da, 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 da. So it was like every encounter was the to-do list instead of building a relationship. So I've had this shift through another great mentor who is a homeschool mom who I love. And she says, Carmie, look at your children, and every time you see them, say to yourself, how can I build my relationship with them? Think of them as a friend. When you say, hey, Rebecca, how are you doing? I don't say, hey, Rebecca, did you brush your teeth today? Did you do this? And it's like, well, we don't do that with our friends. So with our kids, it's like, hey, Steven, how's school, man? How are you feeling? And, you look sharp in that shirt. And every encounter with them, are you lifting? Are you bonding? And then say, hey, I love you. How's the homework coming? And so it becomes more of a encounter of relationship building. I love that. That was when this mom taught it to me. That's great. This habit now I'm trying to incorporate more in the subconscious level, that what is my relationship building? If anyone, whether it's your kids, your people at work, your friends, how can I build this relationship in a positive way and not just a checklist kind of thing?
Well, and it may get where they don't want to encounter with you because it's the constant, they always feel rushed or hurried because they're not getting their things done versus really feeling cared about. Is that kind of how you feel about that?
Yeah, for sure. And, I was like that. I think my kids were like, oh, I can't be around mom because she's just all she worries about is if we've done the checklist or our jobs or instead of who am I inside right now? What am I thinking? How am I feeling? What did you enjoy today? What did you like today? And so, wow, yeah, it's huge. My kids are now more open. My son, who's 13, he said, Mom, I sent a little Valentine gram to this girl. I picked him up from school. I'm like, hey, how was school today? What was neat or what was exciting? And he's like, oh, I sent this girl a Valentine. A 13-year-old told me that, It just shocked me. Like, oh my gosh, he wasn't like embarrassed or shy about it. He was willing to share with me that he liked a girl. And so for me, that was huge and a good measure that he could share something personal and he wasn't awkward around his mom, so.
That is wonderful. Well, great. Well, tell us, you talked about studying earlier. Are there any books that you've read that maybe have helped influence you?
Oh, for sure. I should have actually wrote down because let me look at my bookshelf. So
I'll link them up on our website. That helps.
So I definitely love Julie Morgenstern. She is an organized guru. She's huge in the organizing world. Love her books. Don Asla, of course. Working with children. I'm trying to think of the name. Where is my book? But it's Glenn. I think it's Glenn Latham. He's a psychologist and I'm trying to think of the name. And he has a great book on like working with children and stuff. The other thing is there's the Feeling Good Handbook. That has some good things. Also, of course, Kirk Duncan has some great CDs and inspirational things that he shares that are really powerful. I love listening to Kirk Duncan. And who else? Oh, Stephen R. Covey. Stephen R. Covey has some great things there. I love reading his books. We'll leave it at that. If I think of some, I'll let you know.
That's wonderful. Well, and it does help when you talked about those core books, too. They're pretty important in the learning and growth, too. So tell us, what do you feel like your long-term goals are and how that's going to blend into the legacy that you hope to leave?
Well, for me, right now my goal is to really continue to solidify and strengthen my family. And along with that, when I have opportunities to help people, to mentor them, and to work on my business, then those will come in. And so I really wanted more opportunity to work with women and work with men and help them to strengthen relationships and communications. And, having young children at home, I'm learning, that balance. But I love that. That's for me. I can't wait to help more people. And when I hear about women, refugees going on right now, I I just want to jump in an airplane and go help people. And so it's kind of that balance of, I just really want to help people a lot. And I think because I broke through so many things that I can see, like I see people around me who are blocked and having a hard time, and I want to reach out and help them. So please, if you have any questions, just contact me, and I'd love to help people that way. So mainly for my business, I want to keep mentoring, and I want to train other mentors to be on my team. I want to get them on board so that we can go and help people with that. I want to make sure that I get my emotional quotient tools out to people. And for my legacy, I just want people to say when they knew me that they felt inspired and they felt that they could accomplish something and they could do something that they thought they couldn't before. And whether it's a small child to a grown man, that I want everyone to, I'm not perfect, but I do want people to be inspired, and I want them to leave better than they were before they met me. And so that would be my legacy.
That is great. Well, I've been inspired by you, so I would imagine that you're fulfilling that legacy amazingly. But before we say goodbye, do you have any just final parting words of advice for our listeners? And then please give us your contact information of how we can get in touch with you.
Okay, great. Yeah, just, again, seek to understand yourself, seek to understand, if you have a no come up or you have a block or you really want to accomplish something, take the time to understand what it is and seek inspiration for the solution. And then you'll find a way. You'll find the solution to that. And then deep down, you'll know if that's what you really want. So tapping into yourself. That would be great to contact me. You can reach me at Carmie@transcendencementoring.com. And we may have to put that up because Transcendence Mentoring is really long.
It will definitely be connected with our show notes. So
we'll put that there. And my website is at www.transcendencementoring. And you can go there. I've got some things on there that you can look at and stuff. So as well as other testimonials. And if you know that maybe a couple hours or something would help you just get started on something. A lot of people say just having me there, just get them started. It's like a little jump start, and then they click and they take off. So for sure, utilize me, because that's what I love to help people, and that's something that I feel passionate about. So Thanks so much, Rebecca, and I appreciate you letting me be on your podcast. This is great.
It's been an absolute pleasure for me, and I've been very inspired. So thank you.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Carmie Golightly, go to our show notes at theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and get our new monthly newsletter. Then check out our services tab to see how we can continue to assist you, our Firestarters. Also, to help us continue production of inspiring content, go to the sponsor tab at theluminousmind.net for more information on sponsorship and affiliate programs. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and now Instagram. Get our free audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider these easy ways. Tell your friends about us, leave us a review, share our content, tell us how we can help you, so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.